Hi guys, welcome to this week's weather video. Today we are talking about air quality, which basically means how good is the air? How breathable is it? So I'm going to start out by talking about a disaster that occurred in Pennsylvania in 1948. There were a lot of steel factories there at the time, and so what happened was these chemicals got so thick in the air that people began to die from all of these issues related to breathing and air quality. And so what happened is that there was a front that moved in and pushed the air out. And by that time, 20 people had died and 6,000 people were sick. Another event like that happened in London just a few years later. So air quality is a big issue. It really can cause a lot of problems. Here are a couple important definitions. Air quality is how good the air is. The AQ index stands for air quality. That tells you it's a number scale of how good the air is on that day. You can look it up for any location. And then particulate matter is small pieces of chemicals or dust that are in the air that are causing issues and a reduction in air quality. Important to know that you want air quality to be high. High means good, low means bad. Some common things that cause air quality to decline are smoke, dust, ozone, and nitrogen oxides. Ozone is something we're going to talk about later on, but it can be good and also really bad. Some things that might cause air quality to go down are fires. A lot of farmers burn their fields at the end of the season. That can have effects on air quality. Wildfires, we recently had this in the North Carolina mountains. So a couple weeks ago we had some days that were really hazy. For people with asthma, that's a big concern, and that came from 100 miles away. Open burning can contribute to local air quality. And then things like the Dust Bowl. This isn't something we're really concerned about anymore, but it was a big concern for Americans living in the 1920s, I think. Also, if you've seen the movie Interstellar, that has a lot to do with air quality and dust bowls also. Another thing is smog. Smog is a mixture of chemicals and smoke and dust that can really just be terrible for air quality. It's like toxic pollutants plus really bad visibility. China is well known for having really terrible smog problems. Here's an image of some things that can have negative effects on the air quality. Things like cars, any sort of fossil fuel burning thing like power plants, trucks, airplanes, and then like sprays, hairsprays, aerosol cans, those sort of things can contribute pollutants like nitrogen oxides and volatile compounds into the atmosphere. The sun creates this heat that makes the air pollution even worse. So ground level ozone and particulates are increased when it's hot. Let's get back to talking about ozone. The difference between ozone and oxygen is that oxygen is only 2 atoms of oxygen, while ozone is 3. We need it to protect us from UV rays of sunlight, which can lead to skin cancer. That's why it's important to wear sunscreen. Ozone is really good when it's in the stratosphere, but really bad when it's in the troposphere. So here's bad ozone that's in the troposphere, the level of the atmosphere that we live in. It is increased by warming. It's toxic to human health and also to plants, and it's a greenhouse gas, so it contributes a lot to global warming. This is just a little diagram that shows the circulation that occurs with ground level ozone, so it's kind of an endless cycle. It's getting worse and worse as we're putting more carbon dioxide, which is also a greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. However, ozone isn't all bad. The ozone layer at the top of the stratosphere protects us from harmful radiation coming from the sun. However, we are getting a hole in our ozone layer, and that is caused by these things called CFCs, stands for chlorofluorocarbon. They're chemicals that we're releasing that break down ozone. This diagram is telling you how. So the chlorine in the chlorofluorocarbons reacts with ozone and destroys it, turning it back into regular oxygen. But regular oxygen doesn't protect from the sun's rays like ozone does. The main organization that monitors air quality is the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. There is a branch in North Carolina. There's a branch in every state. You can go to their website to find out more about how air quality works, why it's important, what the issues are. After the recent election, you might see some changes in how the EPA is run because it is a government agency. But it really does a lot for stewardship and keeping our water and air safe. Another website you can look at to find out about air quality is AirNow. You can look at any place and see what the air quality is like at that certain day. Yesterday, our air quality was good. We didn't have any problems. Here's Raleigh. And so we're green, which is good air quality. Our air quality index yesterday was moderate, which means, you know, it's a little dangerous, but you're probably going to be fine. When air quality is very low, it can cause disease, as we talked about on the very first slide, especially asthma, heart disease, emphysema, which is a lung disease, and even cancer. So it's really something that's not to be messed around with. It's a very serious issue, and it's an issue that becomes a bigger and bigger one every day as we are continuing to pollute the atmosphere around us. There are also a lot of environmental impacts to having poor air quality. Of course, if we're having breathing problems, animals will have similar problems. Acid rain is when chemicals are in the atmosphere and then are pushed down when it rains or snows, and that can be really detrimental to plant life. Of course, all life is connected, so a problem for plant life is a problem for animal life and a problem for human life. There are some things that we can do to help solve air quality problems and to keep our air quality good. They are conservation, which is using only what you need, composting, which is a way to recycle food waste and organic waste, which means it came from living things, dispersion, which is moving out pollutants from a certain area that's very concentrated in pollution. Of course, dispersion is not your best option because it's not getting rid of the pollutants, it's just moving them somewhere else. And recycling, of course, which prevents toxins from ending up in landfills and breaking down and those particles getting released into the air. Of course, other solutions are to use electric cars, to make sure you're monitoring your carbon footprint, and to really think about how you are impacting the environment by the everyday decisions that you make. All right, that's it for this time. See you next week. Make sure you do your discussion post and have a great one. Bye.